Welcome all to this New Perspective program, which is named Birth as an Entry into the Physical World. Today we shall speak about birthday as a significant event in the life of a human being. The mother speaks about the birthday in this way. It is truly a special day in one's life. It is one of those days in the year when the Supreme descends into us, or when we are face to face with the Eternal. One of those days when our soul comes in contact with the Eternal, and if we remain a little conscious, we can feel His presence within us. And this is a real chance in life, the day of the grace. So today we have with us Ulrike Urvashi and Radhe with me from La Grace Center. Ulrike is from Auroville, and her topic today is birth, significance and miracle, how to assist mother and child for an easier, healthy, happy, and safe birth. Ulrike Urvashi, based in Auroville, graduated as a holistic therapist, acupuncturist, and nurse in Germany, and gained rich experience and knowledge through her work, research, and studies. She will speak on conscious conception, pregnancy, birth, and beyond. Without further ado, I will request you to address the audience, Ulrike, please.
Namaskar. Thank you ever so much, Vladimir. It's such an honor to be here with you, and I really am so happy to invite you all for the beautiful exploration of one of the most miraculous, and as you mentioned now, Vladimir, also really beautiful and significant days in our life, in all of our lives. Because one thing is for sure, it unites us. We have all been born. For myself, there have been a few inspirations of why I'm so passionate about birth as well. The first one, of course, being, as also you mentioned, there is a soul coming. So with every new birth, with every soul, there's such a hope, there's such a aspiration for that being to not only be loving and kind and strong and healthy, but to possibly carry a truly deep ideal. We might not even know whether it's the superhuman, arriving with every child that comes. The other inspiration I always have when I worked with the women is that I found birthing is the most profound initiation into spirituality a woman can actually have, because it's so deep. There's something very inevitable about it once it's the mother is giving birth. So it's so profound. Also, on the other hand, if we look at it globally, like if we see all of us as humanity, we are in a state where birth is not in a good place, and we're still losing about 800 women every day to pregnancy and birth. So that's every other minute one woman dying while she's actually giving birth. Birth is the moment where we are marked, we are imprinted to potentially really have the capacity to love and trust. Research has shown that it's even allowing us to switch on certain genes. So the actual manifestation, the switching on the genes, means production of proteins, right, by the RNA and then transcribed down to the proteins. So this is decided at the point of birth. What's our imprint there? And you will see also as we go along, it's a point of gaining the earthly base for our consciousness. We need that earthly physical base for our consciousness. And birth is truly of no minor significance. When we look at a day, the morning, it's the morning when we think of maybe the day today, it's the morning that imprints the day. How are we welcoming that day? The morning truly determines the day, as birth determines the life in a way, in a very strong way. So how do we prepare? How do we prepare mothers to be potentially initiated? And how do we receive the babies to have, hopefully, a very conscious life? Mother also says about birth that education starts at birth. And with that, I would like to take a brief moment to ask you, all of the lovely participants who are joining the exploration of birth today, to take a short moment of silence, just to see, just to maybe even close your eyes and go inside and see what you believe. What are your beliefs about birth? Would you do me the pleasure, the honor to just for a few moments, just for a short while. And just see whether birth is truly conditioned with joy and bliss, or what are the emotions? Any fear involved? Any physicality you see? Any ecstasy? And possibly you might feel invited to think about how you would wish to see birth happening worldwide. Please be welcome to do so. The Superman shall be born of woman, says the mother. This is a big, unquestionable truth. The Superman shall be born of woman. But it is not enough to be proud of this truth. We must clearly understand what it means, become aware of the responsibility it creates, and learn to face earnestly the task which is put before us. So from that Hiranyagarbha, actually, the children come, and a woman can experience pain, but can also experience ecstasy. Those things in birth are so close together. So it's really first thing we have to understand is that we have to allow a totally different state of consciousness. That's one of the first things to really understand there. And this initiation can be quite for real and quite empowering. Ideally, we have a mother speaking to us after birth and saying, this felt so empowering. I know I can do this. I know I can, do the impossible. Really, I thought it was impossible. And often women, as they're going through labor and through birth, they reach that point of, I can't do this. I cannot. I want to jump out, but it's not possible. And that's the moment of initiation and also of surrender. The moment they surrender, there's really a big expansion happening there. So I would like us basically to look at the subtleties of birth as well, in its individuality, in this globalness. I hope you understood that we are not only talking about the individual birth, like learning about the individual birth, but the significance of birth is truly for all humanity. And it is said that to change the world, we actually have to change the way the babies are being born. So when we look at the subtle aspects, we can surely look at hormones. I think all of us get an idea that hormones are quite involved in the process of birth. The body's anatomy. You'll see we can prepare the body really well for that birth. That's wonderfully and important. And of course, our mindset is actually even more so. But then as the birth actually is happening, there's the bonding, the breast milk, the placenta, the mother's cake, we'll see that, and also the microbiome, the subtle, tiny bacteria, good bacteria, not the bad ones, the good bacteria, and the viruses that are microbes, let's say, that are important for the baby to receive. So to bring that on a very physical level, one, I would just like to remember this one sentence of birth is a natural event. So whenever during my presentation you feel, she's talking about this and that, and this is also happening in birth, and this is of global importance and everything, just remember, birth is a natural event. That's all. And everything else actually comes from that. Yeah. So it is not technology that we need in the birth, because there's one pioneer of birth, his name is Michel Audin, and he warns that the future of humanity might be quite endangered if we embrace this medical technology and so heedlessly, so without reservations. And he warns that possibly the very techniques that we sometimes use to save lives are also changing the human race on an evolutionary level. I found that very interesting. So when we're speaking about that, he's speaking about the currently incomparable increase, especially during the last decades, about the induction of birth, the medical induction of birth, cesarean birth. And some countries, believe it or not, have actually reached a percentage of 100 in the C-section. So not baby being born through the natural passage, natural opening of mothers, how it is meant to be, but through an operation, through surgical intervention. That has a lot of disadvantages, I must say. It can save lives, but a usual percentage of a C-section, if we look at overall humanity, is around 10%, 12%. So 100% is absolutely never, ever necessary. So, and it has an impact on our hormones. We learned that when there's any function, any physiology or anatomical structure in our stuff, in our physics, that's getting neglected, and oxytocin, for example, the birth hormone, is not produced, then that will decay. And those hormones around birth, they are not only for birth, they're very much connected with our ability to love, our ability to be compassionate. So that decreases. What does it mean for us? My goodness. So, yeah. So, for the practicality, I would love us to look at the 5 points birth plan. The 5 points. So, one thing we have already, birth is a natural event. 5 things, if you want to remember. And hopefully, my prayer is actually that at the end of this presentation, you will hope, you will aspire, you will do everything for every mother that she can have those 5 points birth plan really in place. Actually, quite simple things. First thing, natural onset of birth. Okay, so we'll wait for that onset of birth, trusting the hormones. Second point is a birth companion. I mentioned the 5 points now, we'll return to it as we go along. So the birth companion, somebody at our side, somebody at the side of this mother. Then the freedom of movement. Okay, so the freedom of movement, the mother moving while she's giving birth, while she's laboring. So actually right now, I would love you all, in case you were thinking of birth and the mother is lying at her back permanently or a very long time, I would love all of you to erase these kind of pictures, take these pictures out of your mind and come to images where women are moving. You know, they're walking. We know of Buddha that Buddha's mother was walking in the forest until eventually she found a tree to kneel under, all the ladies putting the cloth around her, and then she gave birth right there, even standing. So we have multiple positions to give birth in. The golden hour, now being Sri Aurobindo and mother lovers, we always love gold as well because they are so golden in our hearts, these 2 avatars. Golden hour for the baby mainly, but for the mother as well. So the golden hour includes that the baby arrives in a gentle environment, nothing too bright, nothing too loud, just a gentle environment. She's skin to skin with the mother. The mother receives the baby and is skin to skin. Baby and mother bond. Wouldn't we want that all more, to have a strong bond with the mother also? Strong bonding and no separation. Never separate from that. Delayed cord clamping. That sounds maybe much of a technical term for many of you, but we'll bring clarity to that as well. And the breastfeeding, this beautiful milk that the mother is producing through her food, but also it's actually produced in the breast itself. Breastfeeding, colostrum, just another quick medical term. You can handle this, I'm sure. Colostrum is a very concentrated breast milk like that. And last but not least is the microbiome, those little tiny things that are very crucial, actually. All right, so all this will make much more sense once I'm done with this talk. And I must say here that for now we'll speak about birth in its universality, okay? So that means I would like to say that every birth is sacred. So there simply is no judgment, whatever we speak about here or so. And for sure, there are always things that you and I and all of us can learn. I would even say we should talk about the ideal birth. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. So the ideal birth is actually a birth that is ideal for mother and baby. Okay, so this ideal birth is the birth that is essential to pay utmost care to. Okay, and so we can see that in any time, and it's basically it's about so the ideal birth is the one that brings mother and baby in an ideal condition, that actually trusts the most in the physical process of birth, okay, and is also the healthiest. So it's actually in its simplicity. You saw the 5-point birth plan now. In its simplicity, it is nothing complicated. It is the birth which is most healthy and easiest for mother and baby as such. Yeah. Okay. So I would love to quote one of my most favorite cantos of Savitri from The Eternal Day, The Soul's Choice and the Supreme Consummation. Most of you, I'm sure, know what I'm talking about, the book 11, Canto 1. And before that quote, which I would love to share with you, Sri Aurobindo also talks in Savitri about the Hiranyagarbha. So this is the quote. When Superman is born as nature's king, his presence shall transfigure matter's world. He shall light up truth's fire and nature's night. He shall lay upon the earth truth's greater law. Man too shall turn towards the Spirit's call. So when I read this the first time, when I heard this the first time, I was like, see, that's what I'm saying. Every child is the chance of that Superman. When he's there, you know, everything is solved. There's truth, there's Spirit's call, everything is there. So, inspiration. Conscious birth, we must understand, starts with conscious conception. So, the conscious conception is always connected with the aspiration also of the parents, the aspiration and the receptivity of those parents. And that's the biggest condition, actually, because Mother says also how the soul, and Vladimir, you last week, you spoke so much about how the soul also chooses, you know, it selects, it's up there and has its way to select the parents. Right. Okay. And in this moment of conception, ideally, it is really essential to pay the utmost care at this moment of beginning. We know that when we put a plant, when we put a seed in the garden, we all have done that. When we plant a seed in the garden, the way until this plant is like this high, maybe a little more. This is where it is important. After that, tree can grow, there can be some rainy days, monsoon can come and go, whatever. But this tiny period, once that's passed, once the conception, the settling into the endometrium, into the inner lining of the uterus is done, and baby has grown, usually we say actually the first 3 months, even especially the first 6 weeks, are quite subtle, and many women lose their children actually, or their fetuses during that time. It's also another interesting aspect of what is coming there. Is it just a physicality, or is it already a soul just wanting a touchdown on earth and then going again? But those things I leave to Vladimir. But already in conception, we can see the importance of prayers, of mantras, of chanting. Like Vladimir mentioned, the calling of the baby down. Yeah, so that everything in this baby is perfect. There's a physical strength, emotional well-being, and a strong mind, a self-confident mind. Yeah. This aspiration, or that prayers, that mantras are useful throughout. They're useful in the conception, in the pregnancy, and also during birth. Just that's it already now. So to introduce you to the most important hormone, or to say the name, the oxytocin. Oxytocin, when we look at it etymologically, it means fast birth. So the woman's body is producing quite a bit of oxytocin around birth. We see that then. And during birth, the oxytocin receptors in this mother increase 200-fold. So that mother is receiving all the love around her. So whatever, we give this mother as love, and ideally this birthing mother has only people around her that are giving her love and trusting in her body and all these precious things. So she received this as well. Yeah, beautiful. So, yes. When I'm sometimes looking here, I'm looking at the slides, but I realize that it's actually, there's no need for the slides. And I think if you take a moment, you can all visualize what I'm talking about when I'm saying, for example, the egg, the fertilized egg is moving into the uterus, into that, what we can really consider as a Hiranya Garbha. Once the baby is in the womb, so moving on to conscious pregnancy, once the baby's in the womb, we've learned that those little beings in the womb, they are already, after a certain stage, of course, after the first, let's say, 5 months, they're drinking, they're sucking this little bit of the amniotic fluid that they're surrounded with. They're swimming in this ocean. In this ocean, I'm saying ocean water because from the research, it actually is, from the balance and the ingredients of the salt and the minerals in the amniotic fluid, in the mother's womb, it's been found to be so equal to the concentration and composition in our oceans, in our world oceans. So it's a beautiful connection there. So baby is moving in there. It's big enough. Now moving in there, drinking a little bit the amniotic fluid, kicking. It's been found even that babies are crying inside the water. Crying, sometimes peeing, depending on how much they drink. The meconium, the stool, is usually kept inside and only excreted once the baby is born. And of course, the senses, if we speak about the baby inside, we learn that the senses in the baby are so delicate. Around the 18th week, so about 4 months, we have the baby hearing first the heartbeat of the mother. And then 10 weeks later, 28 weeks later, we have then opening of the baby towards all the sounds that are coming through the womb to the baby. Yeah. Later on, we know that the senses, even the eyes, are seeing a little bit, mostly red through the skin of the mother. The hearing, the tasting confines or defines the preferences of the baby in the first months of its life, because it has tasted whatever mother has been tasting and eating. Yeah, all these molecules stay around quite longer than whatever mother has been eating. So this being is truly already quite delicate and sweet and precious. And with that, it also, we must remember that with that, it also conceals or receives any stress of the mother. So if the mother is too busy doing other things and not conscious of this growing world, this growing being inside of her, missing out on a big moment, not only for herself, not only for the baby, but for all humanity. Exactly. Yes. So what do we do with this mother? We just ask the mother. Mother says, first of all, the effect of physical environment was recognized and studied long ago. It's by surrounding women with forms of art and beauty, that little by little, the ancient Greeks, she's referring to, created the exceptionally harmonious race that they were. So surrounding a mother with beauty and art, making her look at beautiful drawings. We've even found that the imprint of the whatever mother was looking at has an imprint on the child, like that. Okay, do a little quicker, I'm seeing. We also asked those beautiful mother to do her study, to maybe learn Sanskrit, come up with something that really challenges you, that deepens you, but that engrosses your mind as well. And to meditate, to do your jnana yoga, you do your study, you do your dhyana yoga, you do your meditation. And of course, you do your hatha yoga. You do your stretches and exercising and challenging, maybe in a prenatal class with your midwife already. Midwives are very important. And also, it would be beautiful if you can talk to your baby. Yeah, so being aware of the baby inside, you can talk to it, the father can talk to the baby, and all that. Mother says to bear a child, these are mother's words, and construct his body almost subconsciously is not enough. The work really commences when, by the power of thought and will, we conceive and create a character capable of manifesting an ideal. And even the Bhakti Yoga, we should not miss out on the Bhakti Yoga for that mother, that surrender, getting ready for the surrender that she surely is going to need during birth. Okay. Yes. We've been hearing stories in the Vedas, of course, from Prahlad. Prahlad being impressed by having his mother living at a rishi's house, who was chanting the mantras for Vishnu all the time. And then he was born a devotee. Despite his father, his genetic impact actually being Hiranyakashipu, the Asur, right? Okay, so moving on to that birthing, conscious birthing. For the conscious birthing, we have to remember that mother and baby are a perfect team. They're just made for each other. And baby initiates the birth. This is also why the first point of the 5-point birth plan, to wait for the natural onset of birth. Yeah, let the hormones take place. Let that new being tell you when it wants to be born. There should not be, we have to be careful even with sometimes we have some calendars or some superstitions on that day. It's not, somebody told me astrology or something. There's so much more. The world is so abundant, and this little soul is of the new generation. It's so wise and so conscious actually already. So let it initiate birth. Physically, it certainly does by pushing down with its head on the opening, on the cervix, and just telling Mama, it's time. Yes. And it's so important that we don't traumatize either the mother or the baby already at that time by any medical, induction like that, because we know that if babies are born without trauma, they really have an intact capacity to love and trust. So, coming to the ideal birth. This process, which is designed by nature to be as effective and efficient as possible. So let's not think about birth being so long or so, right? Let's just, in this perfect working together, then it's a birth that's beneficial for both mother and baby. And that's also full of dignity and humanity. So where does the baby arrive? You mentioned already, there is no bright light, there's dim light, there's calms, there may be prayers. There's a confident mother, right? This kind of birth is a safe birth. Yeah, so wherever baby, where mother feels safe, baby will be born really happily. And just a reminder for the oxytocin, for the hormone, some of the midwives carry the molecular structure, not like me with the gold of Matrimony here today, but carry the molecular structure of the oxytocin around their neck as a necklace, because it's so important. And oxytocin can only grow if the mother does not feel stressed. If we go out of the primal brain, out of the neocortex, so into the primal brain, out of the neocortex into the primal brain, mother really being able to go deeply inside of herself. From the structure with a well-prepared through pregnancy, well-prepared mother, having done her Hatasana or her Hatha Yoga, her Yogasana, she can move through these birthing positions, opening the hip. There can be a gain of one third of gaining space, depending on how this mother is moving. Okay, so we have to allow her to move. Additionally, we have the tiny little new being and its head. Hopefully, you sometimes saw how this baby's head looks like. It's not as, coconut-like as ours here, as one bone. There's sutures in between. So the bones, the tiny bones of the baby can actually slide together and make it very tiny and really make it a so-called key and lock principle to move out. So studying birthing positions can be a really beautiful thing. Yeah. Okay. So who is helping this mother to move, inviting her to move from that lying on the back, please really forget that, into a vertical position, or maybe even into a leaning forward position? Why? If the mother feels like to go on her knees, on her hands, why not let her do that? Okay. So who's helping this? The midwives. Okay. So the midwives are the ones that are reminding the mother to be confident, to stay inside. There are also, of course, medically trained, professionally trained people. Sometimes they measure, they measure the cervix. The cervix is opening. When you see the opening of the cervix, so 10 centimeters. But never mind. Never mind is too much, because there's a distinct feeling actually in the mother herself when baby is ready to come. At that time, there's a little bit of adrenaline taking place. There's an urge there. And we have seen mothers showing us the fetal ejection reflex. Yeah, Mother Nature, Mother Earth, Mother Nature has been so generous to even allow a mother who's in coma to give birth. Her body mechanisms can give birth to a fully alive, crawling up to her breast baby. It's really, really incredible. Yes. Fetus ejection reflex. You're very welcome to Google that. Fetus ejection reflex. So one thing also here, forget about the pushing, the prompting of an outside person who has no idea what's going on in the mother's body. Okay, this happens so often, and it shakes the mother, it shakes the baby. We have to teach mothers to really look inside themselves. And the midwives, a well-trained midwife, a licensed, certified midwife, respects and trusts the woman's choices and their natural capabilities in birth. Midwives, doulas are more the medically not so trained, but research here is so interesting. I love research. I've been so much researching about this topic, and shows how the presence of that woman, of the doula, reduces the chance for intervention by 25% and the C-section, the surgery, by 50%. So as a toolbox, let's just take a brief peek into the toolbox of midwife. Okay. So again, everything that a midwife is doing is increasing the oxytocin, reducing any catecholamines, any hormones that are not making the mother relaxed and happy. Oxytocin, endorphins, the happiness hormones. All right, so sesame open. What's in the box of the midwives? The companion, a midwife knows that the mother needs a companion. Even the husband at birth can be a wonderful thing if the mother is open for that. And it's a beautiful preparation for the husband to be of support to the mother, to see what this woman can do as well. It can be an amazing bonding of mother and father also after having seen what your wife can do, what your woman can do. And also Papa, of course, welcomes that baby. Yeah, he's there. And we have seen also how those babies are helped by the father's voice. We see that once the baby's out, the mother and the father's voice that has been with baby through the pregnancy and listened to by the baby helps to bring the baby down, really manifest on earth, arrive here truly. Yeah, so the parents again can do some mantra chanting there. The toolbox itself also includes music. Why not surround the mother with even more chanting or mantras? We spoke about already the movement. Movement is improvement, the midwives say, to help birth on. Meditation, affirmations, right? There's also something called hypnobirthing, which works a lot with that. Essential oil, something that the mother can smell and that can calm her. Lavender oil, rose oil, all these things. Nourishing herself physically, staying physically energetic. No, we don't want to deprive the mother of nutrition. Of course, they have to be soft, like some dates or some coconut flesh we use here in India, or maybe some quiche, whatever you like. It should be some soft, ideally moist thing, because mothers also have to stay quite hydrated as well. Also, this whole cuddling with the father, right, with the future father, helps mother during birth. Hydrotherapy, applying water on the outside, either in a shower or in a bath. Some babies are even born into the water. And of course, there's massage or acupressure, homeopathy. All these toolboxes are there, and they're quite specific ones for the birth. But everything gentle, everything really opening that oxytocin. So once baby is there, so baby has arrived. Baby has arrived. I'm saying again, ideally into the hands of the mother, into the hands of the father, or maybe into the hands of the midwives. This is the ideal birth. Yeah, so, and then we're seeing this baby. One of the signs actually that the baby is relaxed and calm and happy is when the baby's eyes are open. And we've seen that with some babies, they really come out and they want to see immediately. They want to see where they are. And it's great to welcome them and even tell them, because their ears are also so open. This is one of the main senses, the ears and the taste and the smell as well. So maybe the smell actually. So babies arriving in this beautiful, safe environment. The first thing, if we look at if we would remember the 5-point birth plan in this golden hour, there's a skin-to-skin contact. So the gentle surrounding and the skin-to-skin contact, the warmth of the mother, the presence of the mother, the nourishment of the mother. Okay, so the next step is of that baby to potentially crawl up. I mentioned this coma, mothers in coma, and those babies that are born there, they don't just lie there. They're not, nature hasn't built everything. So they have what we call the breast crawl. So these tiny things, they're maybe not immediately, but after a few minutes, maybe after half an hour, they start crawling, they start to explore. What's happening? I'm here, mother's there, there's a warmth, somehow I can feel, maybe I can even already feel the heartbeat. But let me see, let me smell. The smell is so important. And actually, with all you lovely people here, can you just take a moment to see for your preferences for vanilla? I'm sure there's going to be 99%, if we would do a short statistics here, 99% of you liking vanilla. This is birth, right? This is our first, there's something very close connected in the primal brain, in the amygdala actually, in the almond-shaped gland, that's very close connected to these like mother milk and vanilla. Okay. So yes, skin to skin. So babies are starting to crawl, starting to find the breast, starting to find its place of nourishment. This is one of the major points also of the golden hour, the breastfeeding, the breast milk. And we have to remember that the breast milk is not only the nourishment, it's full of immune system strengthening thing. It's full of the microbiome, of those tiny microbes that researchers found are so important. So we cannot deny babies the breast milk. At least, I mean, if there is a mother ever, I hope there's not, but if there is a mother ever who does not want to breastfeed, at least its first colostrum, its first input of that milk, please give it. Bonding is happening straight away. And please really, really remember that there's no separation, right? Because the baby is getting everything they need. If the pediatrician is telling you, no, I need to check the baby. Actually, as long as there's this first movement, the first breath, it doesn't even have to be a cry, but this first movement of the baby, everything can be checked on the mother of the belly most of the times. I would say 98% of the times. Yeah, the APGAR score, the checking the activity, the appearance, the pulse, the grimace, the respiration, the breathing of the baby, everything can be done on mother's belly. So keep mother and baby together and don't even clamp. Part of the golden hour is the delayed cord clamping. The placenta has been nourishing baby all through pregnancy. It's been there. In German, where I'm coming from, we call it the mother's cake. Some people say it's even like a twin or like another chakra. I'm not sure about that, but it's definitely very essential. And we found that having a certain delay, like for up to 90 seconds, WHO states actually that any clamping or cutting of umbilical cord before that time has to be justified because it's so essential. It gives baby the additional iron and oxygen from the shared placenta blood. It's quite a bit. The placenta has 1/3. If we would take 1/3 of your blood, you would have to go to hospital. So this blood has to be given to the baby. The umbilical cord has to stop pulsating. We see such differences in babies. I can see it, even weeks after birth. I can see a certain fullness in the baby's cheeks, which we like to squeeze so much in India. But the baby's cheeks are so much fuller if that blood from the placenta was possible to gush into baby, to flow into baby. It doesn't gush, it flows into the baby through the arteries and veins and artery. Yeah, so that oxygen and blood has the health and intelligence. What is that? This is the container of consciousness. Without health, without intelligence, if the body is not working, if our intelligence, our brain cells are not working, there's no consciousness. There's no chance to ever understand Mother Tree or window. It would be really such a shame. Yeah, and we found that in the separation, if we separate mother and baby, the stress hormones go up, the catecholamines, adrenalines, the sugar goes down. Sugar, air, oxygen, heartbeat, breathing rate, immunity, everything drops. All these things that define life, the breast, the sugar, the heartbeat, that define life, they drop. And also we have to remember that the keeping mother and baby together will help mother to increase her milk production. And the breastfeeding itself actually will help the placenta to also contract. So this symbiosis is so important. I mentioned already that it defines our capacity to love and trust instead of being afraid and alienated from life. If we tear that apart, that bond, often people in their lives, they feel very alienated and lost, not grounded. Yes. And those babies are not born dirty. So if you think of your baby coming out and being put in the bathtub and showered and soaked and everything, another picture to erase, to get rid of. Babies is beautiful. We rub them. Sometimes we have to rub them a little bit to really help them arrive, just dry them a little bit. But please don't give them a bath. Yeah, usually the babies arrive with that impact there. Okay, so breastfeeding is one of the most beautiful and non-omittable parts of the 5 points birth plan and of that journey. Ideally, we continue the breastfeeding for about a year. Breastfeeding also helps the mother in case the birth did not go so ideal. Maybe there was a cesarean section, or maybe there was a short separation after the birth. It helps the mother to increase again in the oxytocin, so we can avoid any postpartum depression. Breastfeeding helps that as well. Okay, we spoke about the breast crawl. It's really amazing. When I saw that the first time, it's incredible. Those little babies' feet already taking these very determined steps to life, to be fed. To complete birth, the placenta, of course, also has to come out. That's where breastfeeding helps. So in the contraction of the placenta and then birth, there's one more push, one more contraction, or we like to call it waves as well, that the mother has to go through. And give birth to the placenta. And some people plant the placenta under a tree, or they make medicine out of it. They dry it and make medicine. It's very powerful. And it can be beautiful to see baby and placenta actually together.
Well, we would have a little kind of time for
yes, absolutely. I'm definitely winding up. I'm straight on my way to Sri Aurobindo. All right. Okay. So I truly hope that I can make you agree that maternity care in a respectful, professional way is so crucial for that new being to arrive. It's a human right. The mother has a human right, and even the baby already has human rights to be with its parents. So much to the ideal birth, which is so good for mother and baby. And percentage-wise, it doesn't have to be ideal as in only a rare few. But I really wish, and I hope you join my prayers in wishing this for everyone. And the respectful care includes the inner guide of the mother. And I would like to close with that. Find the guide secret within you, or housed in an earthly body. Hearken to his voice and follow always the way that he points. At the end is a light that fails not, the truth that deceives not, the power that neither strays nor stumbles, the wide freedom, the ineffable beatitude. Sri Aurobindo in the essays, Divine and Human. Human and divine goes all together. With that, I'm so grateful for your curiosity, for your listening to that, and let's make a change in birth. Let's make more steps. Let's help humanity come forward. For sure, the consciousness in conception, in pregnancy, in birth, in this postpartum period, up to a year of the baby, bringing consciousness into those phases is so essential for bringing humanity forward to what it's actually meant for, and what we study so beautifully with Mother Sri Aurobindo. Are there any questions? The last 4 minutes that officially I see. I don't know how far we can extend.
Yes, thank you very much for this kind of journey with the baby and with all the tools and all the concerns and all the elements which we do not see because we don't look at it from that perspective, especially men. Women are different, of course. They are very concerned and very interested, but man is more conceptually looking at it. But this is a miracle of birth, that from one body another body comes into life, totally formed, totally ready to live. It's amazing. And thank you for all those elements, the importance of the environment, what you said, the beautiful environment, beautiful music, meaningful, sensual activities. I have more questions, of course, but I cannot extend them. I want to mention only that even the mother mentions this, even how attentive we are to what is happening outside and what is impressing the mother. Mother is impressed with something, and that is imprinted into the baby.
Absolutely.
Good or bad. Yeah. So basically, within this 9 months, she forms the character, the the perception, the sensitivity of the baby within her womb. About conscious conception also is very interesting, a topic which we never address because conception is usually becoming is very unconscious in real life. But in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, there was a description of the conscious conception. At the end of Brihadaranyaka, the last chapter, it is described how to conceive the baby. And this is something very rare. I never saw it anywhere, but it is in the scriptures where a man, when he is approaching his wife, he says, I am heaven, you are earth, let us put together our seed to produce the baby, the powerful baby. So in a way, this kind of has to be addressed. Conscious conception, conscious decision, even consciously choosing the environment to do it, and what is done consciously in that moment of time. Also, the first minutes of the baby born are so important. Some people even consider to tell the baby where the baby came, that it is on earth, that it is in this country, to give the name, to say the name, that you're safe with us, to say this, though baby doesn't, maybe people don't think that baby understands the language, but it is not so. Baby understands everything in that moment. And not only, oh my God, my dear, not only that, but also consciously, seriously tell the baby this information, where it landed, talking to the baby, welcoming baby. Even some people put a golden spoon into the mouth, but that is ritualistic. It is less important. So all these very important stages, and I'm very glad that you covered them all in this presentation. And it was really better without PowerPoint, really, because we went with you through, so it's much better.
All the circumstances came to that, yeah.
Yes.
And we also have several questions here, Vladimir, also, if you want to read them out.
Yes, I see them. Yes, thank you. So there is, Kavita is asking, as you explained, there are some mantras which we may chant during pregnancy. Will you please suggest some of them or some books? What would you suggest? What mantra would you
Wow, that's
suggest?
an interesting question. Well, I would maybe possibly after all the question, maybe just chant one as a closing. But yes, there are, especially from the Ayurvedic side, there's beautiful CDs, recordings even sometimes of mantras that can be played during pregnancy, latest after this 28 weeks when baby can hear outside also. And then for birth as well. But the Gayatri mantra, the Gayatri mantra is the purest. And it's an interesting question because it reminds me how when I was working with the midwives in Bali, how they were chanting whenever, even when there's a really potentially emergency situation, the first thing they do is to come together, all the midwives that have seen so many physiological, natural, ideal births, and they come together and they chant the Gayatri mantra. Could be Sri Aurobindo's Gayatri or Om Bhurbhuva Svaha, which one? Whatever.
Basically,
so we had to keep it simple. I think there's nothing specific, but as such now. But yeah, Gayatri mantra is great.
It should have an impact on the mother, as you rightly say, because mother will translate that to the baby. Baby feels through the mother.
Yes.
So if mother is happy with the mantras, then they have an impact on the baby.
Yes, actually, also in the place in Bali, they had asked the mother before what she would want in the Christian. They would do some Jesus mantra, depending on where she feels most, where we're most relaxed, most open, where the door's open to divine.
Yeah. So there's another question from Irene. Namaste. If the father is not physically present, is there some way to involve him at the fullest during this delicate journey of pregnancy? Thank you. Maybe calling on.
In the thought, yes, absolutely. In the thought, mother can look at the pictures we've seen. Sometimes I see, when I look at the families, I can see that the first child looks a lot like the father, and the mother was freshly in love with the father and looked at the father so much, then this imprint has gone on the first child, most of them all, usually. Yes, so through the mother channels it all. The mother really channels it all. Any emotion that she has with the father, maybe saying the name, maybe even in a phone call, with the father, she's mentioning the name. Could even hold the phone. I'm just thinking of the phone calls, holding the speaker of the phone on through the womb and somehow letting him hear that, the baby hear that frequency of Papa as well. Yeah. It's a shame for where fathers are missing out on pregnancy and birth, but sometimes it cannot be changed. But yes, the mothers are the channel for all that. Just like, even in war situations, we often think that the babies inside are definitely traumatized if the pregnancy is in a war zone or something. But what does the mother allow to reach the baby? Is she somehow seeing, all right, there is a war outside, but well, I still have something to eat. I'm grateful. What kind of emotions does he generate? What emotions does he generate? And those will flow to the baby. But certainly it's good to keep thinking of this war, because there are so many mothers giving birth in those kind of situations as well. But certainly for a mother that has a choice never to watch any movies, on war or anything very gross like that during pregnancy, for sure it will have an imprint. Good questions. More.
Right. There is one more. Very beautiful, says Betty. Thank you. In addition, when I gave birth about 40 years ago to my first daughter, I had seen a picture of mother breastfeeding a child about 5-6 years old. I did some research and found that children can be breastfed till their milk tooth falling out. Wow. I did that when next daughter came to us. I breastfed both together. Interesting. That gave my daughter a very loving, strong bonding. One daughter 5 years, evening, morning. The second daughter 3 years, all possible and very beautiful to do. Difficult in our society, but in our village should be possible. Love.
Yes, breast milk is amazing. There's the input of the mother through her food and everything, but that's also what the baby brings. When baby has a cold, all these pathogens go and touch the mammary glands, and the mammary glands will then pass that information on, and immune cells will be put into the breast milk, and baby gets to drink that and heals with that. Yeah. Some mothers even put breast milk in the nostrils to help the healing of
into the eyes.
The eyes, even that. Yes, it's sterile, and it comes out quite sterile like that. Pure. It's very pure. One of the pure things.
They also, it's a well-known thing that Chinese emperors were fed till they were teenagers or something. They had special ladies coming to feed them with the milk.
Yes.
Yes, great, wonderful. One thing what came to my mind when you were presenting about the environment, there is a very interesting one book by Alexandra Green, which is called Jessie and Morgiana, and this is about the pregnancy when the woman was first daughter was brought in one room where was the beautiful picture of the goddess on this on the wall, and she was born so beautiful, and the other sister she brought later in another room where was an ugly monkey looking at her, and that girl was born as monkey. So, and they were, the whole drama is that's between two sisters. But what was I was impressed with is that environment has such a huge impact on the formation of the child. So
even during the moment of birth, right? This was just at the moment of birth.
So thank you so much for this wonderful journey, and it's a very rare one. We don't go into those kind of details in our presentation, so it's a very good input into understanding of what it takes to be born and how it is important, all those elements which we overlook with our spiritual, kind of arrogance. But we have to take care of all those elements in a spiritual way and look at the birth as a spiritual enterprise rather than just physical.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much.
So, going for the mantra?
Yes.
Yes. Om Namo Matre Jagam Matre Bhagavatyai Namo Namah. Om Shaktyai Mahavyakyai Mahamutyai Namo Namah. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you, everybody.